Hi subscribers, this is Kim. I'm going to be leading you through a short foam rolling class. Let's go ahead and get set up. We'll sit down on the mat. That foam roller is going to start in a horizontal position underneath our knees. Your feet are going to stay flat on the floor, and I just want you to lay back onto your shoulders. Find that neutral spine. Now we're going to adjust that roller so it's going to go right underneath our arches. That roller is going to provide an unstable base for our feet when we go into hip bridging. Arms stay long by your sides. Lift the chin slightly and push the arms into the mat. Now, without letting that foam roller roll away or roll in towards your bottom, lift the pelvis up. Now, lower the pelvis down with control. Use that exhale. Pelvis lifts, knees stretch forward over the toes. And then you'll lower those heels down again, or hips down again. Let's go for 4 more using that exhale to knit the bottom of the ribs, stretch the front of those hips, send the knees over the toes. Last 2. And 1. Gently melt back onto the floor. We'll add a progression here. Let's reorganize our feet hip width distance apart. Push the pads and the heels of your feet into that roller. Now, I want you to hover the hips away so that you are in that flat back hinge positioning for your bridge. We'll flex the feet back slightly, feeling your toes lift away from that roller. Now, I want you to press the roller away with your heels. Now, use those hamstrings, pull it back in. Doesn't have to be a huge range of motion. I want you to extend and push the heels forward. Now, dig through those heels. Pull that roller back in. We'll do 3 more. This is pretty intense on your hamstrings, especially just starting out. 2 more. Last 1. Go ahead and lower those hips down. We'll readjust our roller. I want you to place it beneath your low back, right above your tailbone. So easiest way to have it end up there is hinging from those hips, lifting the pelvis up, and then sliding that roller up so it's right up over the tailbone. Good. That roller essentially is going to be supporting you in an imprinted position. So if you feel like you're arching away from the roller at all, it means that roller needs to move up towards your shoulders a little bit more. Once you've found this positioning, you're going to scoop the navel in. Arms are going to extend slightly outside that roller. If you're comfortable holding on to the sides of the roller, that's also an option. Now I want you to hover the right leg to tabletop and then the other leg to meet it. We'll go into our toe tap. So you want to keep your head anchored down here because our pelvis is elevated. I want you to lower the right toes down towards the floor. Exhale, lift the knee back up and then switch to the other side. Good. Toes drop down. And then you'll use the abdominals to lift that leg back to tabletop. Pulling the low back into the low lumbar to keep that imprinted position and keeping that low back stable, sealed against that foam roller as you lift and lower the legs. We'll continue with 1 more on each side. Lift both legs to tabletop. Let's carefully lower them down for a break. Legs are going to hover back into that tabletop position, 1 at a time. Arms either supported by the floor or supported outside, gripping onto that foam roller. We'll go into double leg stretch. Extend both legs out from the hips. Now you're going to bend those knees. Stop the knees right over the pelvis. Exhale. Keep that low back sealed against the foam roller as those legs move away from the body. Then you'll soften into those knees. Consciously stop the knees right over the hips using that belly. Good. So if the low back begins to feel tender here, instead of sending the legs out to a 45-degree angle, aim them up a little bit more. Extending the legs is a goal, but it is not necessary if it's putting any tension on that low back. 2 more. Legs are going to extend here. Now let's keep the legs extended as much as possible. Separate the legs about hip width distance, and you're going to flutter kick from those hips. Keeping the pelvis still, keeping the spine still. For 3, for 2, and 1, lower the feet down. Beautiful. Let's slide that foam roller out from beneath our back. Now I want you to turn it to a vertical position, okay? So once it's in that vertical position, I want you to sit towards the top end of your foam roller. Your spine is going to track with your foam roller, so you will lay on down. So this is meant to challenge your balance, right? You'll feel immediately upon laying down that your balance is not as supported here. Okay, so you have to use your abdominals to support your balance and help stabilize your pelvis and hips, especially when we add in our leg lift. So we'll open up those arms to that T. So I want you to have a wider foundation here if you need it. And we'll begin to lift that right leg to table and then the left leg to meet it. Let's continue with those toe taps. Right toes are going to tap the floor. You'll use those abdominals, lift the knee back to table, and then switch. Let's aim for 6 on each side. Recalling the cues from before. Arms are active, pancaking the mat along the floor. Chest is wide, and that low back stays sealed against the mat. Go ahead and lower the feet down. We'll transition into our double leg stretch just as before, lifting one leg to tabletop and then the other, extending the leg out, both legs together out, and then bending those knees back to table. Extend both legs out, bend those knees back to table. We've got 5 more. Good. Continue to breathe. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to bend those knees to tabletop. Last one. Legs are going to stay extended. Now you'll separate those legs about hip width distance. We have those flutter kicks again. Good. Without arching that low back, you're going to start to flutter. In 3, in 2, and 1. Lower the feet down. Beautiful work, friends. All right. So let's slowly lift the hips, and then you're going to slide that roller out again. We're going to adjust it. So that foam roller is now going to go in a horizontal line underneath our shoulders. So it's going to kind of mimic our collarbone in that horizontal position. Hands are going to go underneath the shoulders on our foam roller, and the knees are going to go underneath the hips. 4-point kneel. So push the heels of the hands into that foam roller, rounding the upper back just slightly, pulling the belly button in towards that spine. Now I want you to start by sending that right leg out behind you. My toes are light on the floor. Now without compromising your low back, keeping the range of motion small, begin to lift the right toes away from the floor, maybe an inch, maybe 2, but you're lifting from the meaty part of your hip rather than the low back. Go ahead and lower the hip down or lower the toes down. We're aiming for 5 more. In 3, in 2, leg stays lifted. Okay, optional progression is extending the opposite arm out. So my left arm is going to reach forward, but I'm still pushing through the heel of my right hand, keeping that foam roller still. And only if I'm able to keep that foam roller still, I'm going to bend my elbow in towards my knee, and then lengthen and extend it out. Arm bends in, knee bends in, round the back, and then extend the arm, extend that leg out. Give me 2 more. Last one. Hand down, knee down, child's pose. Let the hips drop back over those heels. We'll reorganize the body in that same position and transition to the other side. Push into the heels of your hands, belly button to spine. Extend the left leg back, knees and toes point towards the floor. My pelvis is staying parallel. I'm going to begin to lift from the glute, that left leg. Everything lifts together, everything lowers together. Good. Check that my left hip isn't tempted to open towards the left side of the room. We've got 2 more lifts. The leg is going to extend back now. Option to extend the right arm forward. You're going to add in flexion, rounding the spine, bending the knee, bending the elbow, and then extending it out again. Bending that knee, bending the elbow, extend it out again. 2 more. Last one. Lower the hand down, lower the knee down. Beautiful work, friends. To finish out, we're going to go into one plank only. So we're going to stay on our hands. I want you to separate the feet about hip width distance. Rounding the upper back, recalling those cues from our 4-point kneel variation before. Step the right foot back and then the left foot. Parallel the hips, parallel the knees and the ankles. Good. Now we're balancing on an unstable surface with our shoulders. So that roller is tempted to push forward and back, but I want you to keep it still. We've got 4 and 3 and 2. Drop to those knees, sit back on those heels. Child's pose. Great job today, friends. I look forward to seeing you again. Tune in to our YouTube channel every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific time for more videos. Thanks.